Hey guys, it's Christian Markham. This week's voice thread, we're talking about some social work concepts and what they mean to us and what we've gotten out of class. The first term is social justice. So for me, social justice is just fairness when it comes to opportunities, whether that's in education or in employment. It's fairness in who receives those opportunities. In a fair world, we all receive them. Human rights has to do with the basic human rights that all of us are born with or should be born with. And those are rights to things like life and liberty and freedom from slavery and from torture and persecution and all of that bad stuff that vulnerable populations in our history have been subjected to. Like in a more evolved country, like I hope we're becoming, that should also include rights to live without discrimination and to have equal opportunities in life. Community development. To me, community development is something that we do as social workers. It's helping communities to kind of reach their potential and helping people to reach their potential. It has to do with welfare for residents in individual communities and in the bigger scheme of social work. Social development is the last term that we're to define. That goes back to potential. So social development, I believe, is what we as social workers do. We help people to fill their potential and be able to take advantage of every opportunity that they should be able to take advantage of. Discuss these concepts, significance for social work practice, and how you see yourself working with them in your social work career. So that's what it's all about to me. As social workers, we help vulnerable populations, whether people are vulnerable because of mental health issues, because of poverty, whether it's because of ethnicity or any other factor that you can think of that would affect someone's vulnerability to being treated unfairly. As social workers, we help people to move past those vulnerabilities, and we advocate for people that are vulnerable to discrimination and to differences in fairness when it comes to opportunities, and we help people to be all they can be. It actually relates a lot to our saying at the Harris Center where I work, is doing all we can to help people be all they can be. I think that's a good slogan for social work in general. Discuss different ways to empower at least two populations at risk. I feel like the best way that we can empower people that are at risk is with education. We had our project last week. We talked about a social justice issue, and the one that I chose was how Latinos were more susceptible and more vulnerable to the coronavirus. I feel like there's a million examples of that where a certain population will be more vulnerable to something. In our curriculum that I use at work, we talk about the stress vulnerability. Stress vulnerability model has to do with how a particular population might be more vulnerable to something, whether that's addiction or mental health issues or what have you, and how stress can combine with that vulnerability and cause people to have problems. So I feel like as social workers, that's a huge thing that we do to empower people, is we educate them about their vulnerability to different issues, and we teach them how to cope with stressors so that they can be all they can be and they can overcome issues that they might otherwise have to deal with on a day-to-day basis. Another thing that I think we can do to empower at-risk populations is by connecting them with resources. Knowledge is power. A lot of times there are resources out there to help people to deal with things like poverty and things like things they might be discriminated against. There's advocacy groups, there's social support out there for them, but maybe they're not aware of them. So I think an important thing that we do as social workers is we connect people to those resources. Most important things I'm taking away from this course, the things that are coming to my mind, we had a lot of good TED Talks that we watched in this course. One of my favorite ones was the case for collaborative consumption, which might seem like one of the lesser meaningful ones, but to me it was interesting because I feel like we're getting away from connecting with other people. in the technological age that we live in, and everything is on the internet, and we're so on our devices, and we're so like in our homes, and especially now with the pandemic. But I really liked that TED Talk because it just kind of allowed me to, I guess, shift the way that I look at where we're going with the technological times. So in that TED Talk, the speaker talked about how the mesosystems and the macrosystems are not being eliminated, they're being expanded geographically. So you no longer are confined to only interacting with the people that are directly around you in your neighborhood. Now, because of the internet, you can speak with people that are maybe dealing with the same issues you're dealing with, or you can just connect with people on a more fundamental level than just who's geographically near you. So that's really powerful. The other big thing that I'm getting out of this course came from Carter, I believe was the speaker's name, her TED Talk on greening the ghetto. I guess like at some point or another I had thought about it or learned about it, but it never really struck me the way it did when I watched her video, how certain geographic areas have more of the burden when it comes to environmental hazards. And it just kind of blew my mind when I started to think about how that could affect a population and how that could affect generations of people. When we're talking about things like air quality and all of the toxic waste and the different things like she was describing, where she had multiple dumps in her neighborhood and like toxic waste plants and all of these things that can certainly impact the way a community can get out and exercise and get out and connect with each other. And things like that. So that really opened my eyes, I guess, to those issues, and is definitely going to be a topic of interest to me in the future. I think I addressed everything. So thanks, guys.